It's 1961 in East Berlin. Emil arrives at DIFA Studios in his army uniform. He wanders the set looking for his brother, Alex. The place is littered with people in different costumes, and he sees numerous soldiers just like him. Emil finds Alex, and Alex apologizes for not coming to pick him up as planned. Alex starts to gush about their surroundings. He bets Emil will love it here. Emil is going to be an extra in a film starring Beatrice. He's never heard of her though. Emil momentarily spots a woman in a car. She's in the back seat crying, but he can't stop staring. When she notices, she flips him, and he idiotically flips her back, too stunned and mushy-brained to understand what he's doing. The car pulls away, and Emil's attention is needed. Work begins immediately. His job is fairly simple. He just has to stand in the back of a crowd. Production starts rolling. A female pirate introduces the dazzling dance queen Milou to an eager crowd. It's the same woman Emil saw earlier. Her movements mesmerize him, as they should for the love interest in the story. The pirate steps onto the stage, capturing Milou in his arms and leaning her back like the final move of a breathtaking performance. The director yells cut and starts nagging about the lighting. He pulls Emil onto the stage as a light double and launches into a rant about how the scene should play out. The pirate is supposed to ignite a flaming connection with Milou, a swift brush of her hair, then a kiss. Emil follows the directions without thinking, and the director calls him out. He's a light double, not an actor. He has no business kissing Milou. But Emil doesn't just mess up there. In his awkwardness, he accidentally sets the stage on fire. At least now the set has more than enough light. Milou is just Beatrice's dance double. She also doubles up as Beatrice's errand girl. Her moment to shine is over, and neither the director nor Beatrice appreciates her for her time because Beatrice is the real star. Emil tells Alex he kissed Beatrice, but he doesn't realize he went into hiding before the actual Beatrice's snotty appearance. Now infatuated, he's determined to see Beatrice again. Returning to the set isn't an option after the disaster he caused, so he pleads with Alex to find him another job at the studios, just for a chance to see his beautiful lady once more. Alex gets Emil a new job watching geese. He would prefer Emil doesn't screw this one up. Emil spots Milou and follows her, the geese tailing behind. He sees her disappear into a tent and calls out to her. The real Beatrice is ever grumpy and snotty. Milou leaves the tent to attend to whoever called out to Beatrice. He finds Emil, who tries to communicate with her in French, until she clarifies that she does understand English. He apologizes for the kiss, and goes on to invite her for dinner. Milou doesn't clarify that she's not Beatrice. Emil has forgotten about the geese, and he ends up causing a different kind of commotion as he's left them unattended. Beatrice steps out of her tent, furious and yelling, so Emil confronts her about her tone. General Director Beck wants the menace out of his studio grounds. Security guards are on it when Milou frees him from their clutch, and together, they take cover. They exchange names while hiding in a walk-in closet. Then, they continue their sweet escape, with Milou leading the way. They end up on a rigging grid, where Milou has prepared a table for two. She admits she should have cleared up the misunderstanding, but Emil did interrupt her star moment. They pretend to have a lavish and romantic dinner, slipping easily into jokes and teasing each other. Milou thinks Emil is superficial, but Emil disagrees. One good look is enough to read her well. Milou reads him too. While Milou struggles with being in Beatrice's shadow, Emil feels like a lost cause, not good at anything. Milou has to leave, but Emil isn't ready to let her go. He kisses her again because the first time she had failed to kiss him back. Milou melts under his touch, but Emil isn't done yet. Their lavish dinner was missing a romantic toast, and he still needs to know if his assessment of her is spot on. It is. Emil invites her to Hall 7 at sunrise, mentioning he has something to show her. Milou really has to go now, but Emil wants to know if he should be expecting her. Peut-être, she says, before she dashes off. Emil has no idea what it means. Emil, ever dramatic, seeks help from his brother and his crew. By morning, he's waiting for Milou at their designated spot. Milou is on her way to the studios when they encounter traffic. The roads have been blocked off by armed soldiers, dogs, and barbed wire. Milou learns in the car ride back that there's a state of emergency in the country that has forced the government to seal off the Soviet sector. Emil waits for Milou in vain. He'd recreated Milou's favorite scene from Jungle Book and decorated the prop room to mimic the moment that inspired Milou to become a dancer. Civilians are given proper orientation on what's happening. East Berlin has been cut off from West Berlin. The news threatens to disrupt film production, but General Director Beck wants to push forward. They'll need more staff from the East to replace cut-off staff from the West. Beatrice and her crew are returning to Paris. Milou tries to make a call to Babelberg. but the lines in the east are still unavailable. Emil is in the dark until Alex explains what's happening. It relieves him that Milou didn't bail on him on purpose, but now he has to find a way to reunite with her. The young boy knows this is his grandpa's story. He's hooked and wants to know if younger Emil ever did reunite with his sweetheart. It seems like a hopeless situation until Emil suddenly becomes Carl. While hiding from the general director, he stumbles into an office. Earlier, in a dazed moment, he'd told a furnisher his name was Carl Berkman. Now he realizes the furniture, thinking the office was his, was customized under that name. Emil decides to take advantage of the situation. He has a new secretary called Rosemary, who's ready to be at his service. Emil settles into the new role and asks Rosemary to call in Alex. Alex is stunned to see Emil assuming the role of producer. He scolds his reckless brother, but Emil has a plan. The idea is to write a movie that Beatrice can't resist. That way, he'll get to see Milou again. Alex won't support his foolishness this time, but Emil is desperate and determined. He reaches out to Krista, and she gives him an insight into what kind of movie would capture Beatrice's interest. With her help, he builds up crew members for the production. Krista has chosen to help and support Emil's crazy idea because crazy ideas make for the best adventures, and she has one more adventure left in her. News about this tantalizing production gets to the media. Headquarters visit General Director and Prager, impressed by this new prodigy. Beck is just catching wind of this underground production, but pretends like he's known about it from the onset. At HQ's request, Prager goes to get Carl. He's lost for words when he finds the menace extra, but they have an image to uphold. Gregor from HQ meets Carl, and Carl uses the opportunity to ask that production be done with his chosen crew. He's established himself as a scriptwriter and a director, so Gregor expects the finished script on his desk by the following morning. Alex has no choice but to help his brother. With Rosemary's typing skills and Alex's experience in the film industry, they begin drafting a script. Beck hates the script, but self-absorbed Beatrice loves it because it appeals to her ego. She agrees to fly over with her crew for filming. Emil's grandson believes the story is made up, but whether it is or not, it's a cool story with a lot to learn from. Time passes, and the day Beatrice and her crew arrive in Berlin finally comes. Emil waits at the airport with flowers and a note for Milou, but his heart sinks when he sees her with a new lover. Despite the heartbreak, he does his best to mask the pain. There's no room for Emil to feel sorry for himself. Big brother, Alex, sternly reminds him he has a movie to film, or he could face serious consequences. The movie has a scene where Cleopatra dances seductively for Caesar. This is where Milou comes in as Beatrice's dance double. Omar, Milou's new lover, is Caesar. He cuts the scene to make his displeasure known. He's aware that Emil likes Milou and warns him to stay away from her. Milou, on the other hand, is upset that Omar wants her scene scrapped because it makes him uncomfortable. He's taken away her moment to shine. The general director and Prager are on a mission to get Emil fired and replaced with a competent director who won't threaten their reputation. Milou finds Emil on set. He basically lives there. She confronts him for trying hard to ignore her, explaining that she had no control of the situation back then. She tried her best to reach him, and when it seemed fruitless, she moved on. Now she's engaged to Omar. Emil doesn't take the engagement news well and decides he'll shut Milou out to cope. Hopefully, they can shoot a very important dance scene at the end of the movie. A grand performance with rose petals raining down on Egypt's queen. It's time to shoot Cleopatra's coronation. Everything has to be perfect because comrades from HQ will review production so far. Emil learns a little too late that his film has been sabotaged by Prager. He told the extras that filming for the day was canceled, and they used their day off to get drunk. Emil decides to shoot regardless, but the extras can't keep themselves together. He then has to improvise with a very bizarre idea, an earthquake. Beck and Prager's plan backfires. The officials appreciate Emil's innovation. The earthquake had an intriguing effect that they'd never seen on camera before. Emil has their blessing to keep shooting. Emil enters the cinema to see for himself. The camera crew did an excellent job. Beatrice and Omar were portrayed as scared lovers in a hopeless situation, fighting for their lives and comforted by their love for each other. Emil addresses his crew that night. They hold their breaths until he remarks that production will continue. A lot happens in the days that follow. Emil and Milou warm up to each other, and Omar isn't happy about that. Prager and Beck also hate that Emil is still in charge of the production. One night, Milou misses her car ride, so Emil offers to drop her off. Their means of transportation is a mechanical cart they have to stand in. Emil takes her down a quiet road that turns magical when he turns off the cart's headlights. Nature takes over, fireflies lighting up their path. They run out of gas and continue on foot. The streets are lonely and dark, a stark contrast from what Milou is used to in Paris. Heaven opens up and lets down rain. They take cover under a flimsy shade. Emil wants to know more about Paris, so Milou tells him. She gets overexcited and almost crosses a boundary an engaged woman shouldn't. Officers interrupt them, wanting to see their IDs. The officers find disparities in Emil's work and personal IDs, and it lands him in a cell. Milou returns to the place she shares with Omar. He's angry because he knows Milou has been with Emil. He goes on to mandate that they'll leave Berlin and return to Paris before Milou can become more foolish. A new director takes over, but the crew isn't having it. Krista is the first to walk out. With Director General Beck's hands tied, he decides to have Emil released so he can continue the film. When Milou sees Emil is back, she crashes into him in a hungry kiss. But ultimately, she won't leave Omar. She has her reasons for marrying him and picks apart why Emil has no chance with her. He gives up there, walking out on her. Emil instructs Alex to expand the set for Milou's performance. He clarifies he's not trying to keep her. He just wants to finish what he's started. Omar and Emil get into a brawl after Omar sees the changes he's made to the script. If Emil is trying to win Milou over, it won't work, not on Omar's watch. Milou tells Emil that she's leaving for Paris with Beatrice and Omar after the film is finished, but Emil will need to find another dance double for his grand show. Milou is in the dressing room to pick up Beatrice's things when Krista comes in with the new dance double. They have no idea she's in the room and chat away about Emil and Milou. Milou learns the great extent to which Emil has fought for their love. It has her breaking down in silent tears. Milou shows up to everyone's surprise as the dance double for the final scene. She starts to dance, but it's a different kind of energy when she sees the elephants. Emil has merged Jungle Book with Cleopatra, and the crowd is over the moon. Omar is waiting for her after the show. She gets in the car with him, and he remarks that she performed well. He should have never tried to stop her. Milou gets as far as the checkpoint before she takes off. She finds Emil sulking in the rigged grid. She sits opposite and playfully flips him, causing him to smile. Grandpa Emil is done with his story. His grandson hasn't caught on to the fact that his grandmother is the woman from the story. When he realizes this, excitement fills him. He wants to rush off and talk to his grandma. But Grandpa gently reminds him he has his matters to attend to. A young girl waiting for him. As for Grandpa, his love is at home, waving him over.